Thank you, Presiding Member, for the opportunity to say a few words. The previous speaker concluded by saying there is karma, and those who cause this carnage will suffer eventually. His words have already come true. Former President, who is supposed to have engineered this and come to power, was chased away by the people of this country from that seat in an unprecedented way. So karma does perhaps follow according to his belief. Many people who said we cannot allow any international investigation, that's a violation of the sovereignty of this country, are now calling for international investigation. That is also a turnaround. When we said an international investigation would be the only independent inquiry into the excesses that were said to have been committed during the civil war, many said, no, our constitution doesn't allow it. Constitution says nothing about that. In fact, the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, when he was in the opposition, presented a private member's bill in which he provided for international judges to inquire into allegations against Superior Court judges. He did not think that that was unconstitutional at that time. Many today do not think that that is unconstitutional. It is not unconstitutional. In any case, with regard to the civil war, there have been international inquiries. There was a panel of experts report, there was an OISL inquiry, and those reports are available. Government also agreed to a hybrid court in 2015 and later resiled from that endorsement and said we are co-sponsorship, we are now withdrawing. I am reminding these matters because even in a matter where the state and another party were involved in a battle, the only possible independent inquiry can be an international one because the state was one side to the conflict. Of course, there have been many inquiries, as I said, but there has to be prosecution stemming from that. Coming to the Easter bomb attack, when the Parliamentary Select Committee reported its findings in October 2019, we very specifically pointed to what is being said now. Even in the executive summary, we raised a question as to whether this was done in order to create in the country a call for a strong leader with the presidential elections due to happen later in the year. We said that because everything pointed towards that. There was no hard evidence, but all circumstantial evidence pointed towards that. And now that is slowly but surely being revealed. The Channel 4 revelations, again, I must say, many today accept what the Channel 4 has revealed with regard to the Easter bombing. The same Channel 4, several years ago, put out two documentaries, Killing Fields and Killing Fields 2. Lots of things were said about that. But even those who decried those are now basing their reliance on the documentary now released. We know that what it says is true, because there are several instances that we are personally aware of which fit in with the story that is being told there. And I want to refer to one matter that is not altogether in the Channel 4 revelation, but in Azad Maulana's voice recording and his statement made to the OHCHR. He has revealed this. But before doing that, I must make a disclosure in terms of the Code of Conduct for Parliamentarians, Clause 19, about my involvement in some of these matters as I have appeared. I appeared in the High Court in Batticaloa when Honorable Sivaneswara Chandrakanthan was granted bail. I appeared for the aggrieved party and objected to bail being granted in November 2020, and so I have some involvement in the matter and I must disclose it in terms of Clause 19 of the Code of Conduct for Parliamentarians. I must also refer to Standing Order 83.1, which says the personal conduct of certain personalities, including judges, should not be subject to reference in a speech in Parliament. I'm saying that because I'm going to refer to some conduct, but that's not personal conduct, but I'm going to refer to conduct of judges in their official capacity. So I'm not violating any standing orders. Azad Maulana very clearly sets out how Pillayan was granted bail first and then released from that case. He mentions names of judges, although I can mention it here. I'm not mentioning the names of judges for propriety's sake. When a confession made by a co-accused was admitted in evidence by the High Court of Batticaloa, he says there was a meeting which he attended along with the judge, and it was planned that an appeal would be made and that judge would then dismiss that confession as inadmissible evidence. And that in fact happened. The name of the judge he mentions is the judge who gave that order. Incidentally, that judge, who is a judge of the Supreme Court today, and this is a very serious matter, was an accused in a bribery case a few years ago in the Magistrates Court in Colombo. He was prevented from sitting as a judge during that time. But when government changed, that charge before the Magistrates Court was withdrawn. Later he was promoted and now he is a sitting judge of the Supreme Court. Isn't this a shocking thing that's happening in this country? Now apparently it was he who had a meeting planned and said, I will rule that this confession is inadmissible, and the Attorney General can thereafter say there is no evidence to continue to prosecute Pillayan. Attorney General apparently objected to this, and I must salute Honorable the former AG Dapula Dilirvera for that, and he's mentioned Deputy Solicitor General Madhava Tenakon also not wanting to accede to this request. Now I know some of these to be true because when I appeared in the High Court before a special judge, and Azad Maulana says how that special judge came to be appointed, because the judge who was sitting there had refused to comply with this and wanted a transfer out, and he was transferred to Colombo. And we know he was transferred to Colombo, that judge. I know that he was transferred to Colombo. And another judge who was sitting in Vaunia at that time was approached to do this. And that judge in order to get out of this difficult situation, had said the parliamentarian who was killed, Joseph Parasingam, was a Tamil Catholic. If a Hindu or a Muslim judge releases Pillayan, there will be suspicion. So let's find a Tamil Catholic judge. And he spoke to a Tamil Catholic judge and got him appointed to Batiklo as a special judge to hear this bail application. And that is how the matter was taken up in the Batiklo High Court.
சுமந்திரன் அவர்கள் தொடர்ந்து சொல்லிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார். சுமந்திரன் அவர்கள் நீதிமன்றத்தை பற்றி இங்கே பேசிக் கொண்டு என்னுடைய வழக்கு சம்பந்தமாக என்னை இந்த நாட்டினுடைய நீதிமன்றம்
the beginning. I clarified, I knew. That's why I clarified it is not a point of order. And I appeared before the High Court in Batiklo, before that special judge, and I objected to bail. And the judge was taken aback. He said I had no status to appear. It's all a matter of record. It's all a matter of record. And he adjourned proceedings, took about half an hour's recess, probably made some telephone calls, then came and said, okay, you make your submissions, and still granted bail. That day, we couldn't leave the courtroom in Batiklo because there were people who...
Honourable Member, you have one more minute.
Thank you. There he is still making a threat. He's making a threat now again. There were people lined up and we had to be given special protection to go out of the courtroom that day. Channel 4 shows how when he came out, all that crowd that was there to greet him because they knew that he was coming out that day. All this had been planned. I am a witness to many of these things that happened. And that is why I am placing it on record here. Nothing about Pillayan. Everybody knows about Pillayan. Somebody has said that he is very soon going to publish a list of murders he has committed. Nobody cares about him. But I am concerned about the judges who are still serving, who have been party to this great betrayal of the trust of the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
என்னுடைய பேரை தொடர்ந்து சொல்லுவதையோ நீதிமன்றத்தை அவமதிப்பதையோ நேரே நான் இருக்கிற பொழுது பேசுவதும் அவர் சட்டத்தின் அடிப்படையில் பொருத்தமான விடயங்கள் இல்லை. இப்படியான விடயத்தை நீங்கள் அனுமதித்தால் எங்களுக்கு நேரம் தர வேண்டும். அவர் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், வடக்கு கிழக்கில் அரசியல் நிலைமை தெரியும். அவங்கள என்னை தாக்க வேண்டும் என்பதற்காக கருத்து சொல்கிறார்கள். நானும் மக்கள் பிரதிநிதி, அவரும் மக்கள் பிரதிநிதி. அந்த கௌரவத்தை கொடுக்க அவர் முதல் சட்டத்தினை பழகிக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். அவர் ஆங்கிலத்தில் அழகாக பேசணும்பதற்காக எல்லாத்தையும் அபகரப்படுத்தி பேசக்கூடாது. இவர்கள் நியமித்த நீதிபதி தான் எங்களை அடைத்தார் சிறையிலே அடைத்துவிட்டு அவர் உங்களுக்கு பேசியிருக்க வேண்டும். எங்களை நீங்கள் அரசியலே தூக்கிலிட வேண்டும்.
මීළඟට අපේ චාමර සම්පත් දසනායක මන්තුමා ඔබතුමාට විනාඩි 15ක් කාලයක් තියෙනවා.